All right. Thank you everyone so much for joining the call today. I am really, really excited to talk about a financial strategy that is very near and dear to my heart. I am a wholehearted believer in the Smith Maneuver. I implement this strategy myself. And so I'm very excited to educate you guys today on essentially how this works and why it could be very beneficial for you to at least consider reviewing your own numbers in implementing this financial strategy. Why am I so passionate about this strategy? Well, a number of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is I believe as a young person in Canada today, it is harder than ever to get ahead financially. Rising cost of living, rising cost of housing. We have some of the highest grocery inflation in the G7. It's about $1 million to raise a kid today. I want a lot out of life. I want to be able to retire comfortably. I want to be able to give my kids the life they deserve. And so why I'm such a big believer in the Smith Maneuver is that I know that in implementing the Smith Maneuver into my own life, I can set myself up better financially for the future and build a life by design that I want and I deserve. So what are we facing today? Again, job insecurity is increasing, economic uncertainty. We hear it all the time in the news. AI this, AI that, coming for my job, coming for your job. Government spending is questionable. We hear a lot about money, taxpayer dollars being moved to places that isn't of the best interest of the average working class Canadian. I'm not quite sure. We have the highest marginal income tax in the G7 to go along with our rising cost of grocery inflation. We also have the highest marginal tax bracket of any country in the G7. And then also we hear about pension security being more and more unlikely. Clawbacks on CPP and OAS, will they even be around for when you and I are facing retirement? I'm not quite certain. Just going to make myself a little smaller here so we can see this. And again, with the rising cost of home ownership, increasing your wealth today almost feels impossible. Inflation is always eating away at our hard-earned dollars. We're facing more and more expenses by the day that our parents didn't have to face, our grandparents didn't have to face. The cost of housing was essentially 1-to-1 with incomes for our grandparents, and it was 4-to-1 for our parents. Nowadays, that's almost impossible for us. And those expenses just keep on costing more. And so salaries have been extremely insufficient with keeping up with inflation in the last couple of years. And so on top of that, the amount of taxes that we pay for food, shelter, groceries are not keeping up as well. And then as well, as I mentioned, mortgages and home ownership costs are skyrocketing. And so the Commonwealth advice that we've had in the past is invest more, max out your registered contributions, prepay your mortgage, and reduce your debt. And that has been Canada's typical financial blueprint. And so here's the thing is that all of these strategies require more spending. And one point that I want to touch on here right now is that Canada's blueprint has been often criticized recently as being broken or outdated. Why is that? Well, 1 in 3 Canadians are retiring with a mortgage. The average first-time home buyer is now 40 years old. Compound that 25 to 30 years on a mortgage, no kidding. And the average person refinances every 7 years or moves or restructures a mortgage every 7 years. And every time they do that, they pay more and more interest over the life of their mortgage. So no kidding. And so the question that the Smith Maneuver answers is, what if after your mortgage, your taxes, your childcare, grocery bills, there's simply no more money left? You know, we're faced with the choice of, do we pay down the mortgage or do we save for retirement? That's becoming a very common feature. Or many people, after entering in home ownership, are forced to put their retirement plans on pause just to face the mortgage cost, the cost of childcare, and providing for the family. And so for who the Smith Maneuver is a good fit for, who could this possibly be intimate for, you have to qualify in a couple different scenarios here that we're going to answer. Number one, do you own a home? This is for homeowners. Do you have a mortgage? And then is that mortgage feeling like it's taking forever to pay down? The interest costs are adding up. You're wondering where all the money on your monthly payment is going. What we're going to just talk about real quick right now is the question that almost is never answered by any bank or your lender and is almost never highlighted in any mainstream form of Canadian media, I often say that in Canada, we have a financial literacy crisis. And this right here is one of the best examples why no one teaches us in school about what does your mortgage really cost you? You never really run the math. And I'm not just talking about interest. And I'm going to show you that why I'm referring to that here. So if you have a $400,000 mortgage at, let's say, a fixed rate of 4.5%, average over 25 years, and at a 38% marginal tax bracket, which is very common. It does not take long to get to a higher tax bracket in Canada. You make your mortgage payments with after-tax dollars. What does that mean? It means you go out and you get your paycheck, you get taxed on that money, the government will take a portion of those dollars, and then you're able to go and make your mortgage payments. That $400,000 mortgage, after interest, and after in earned dollars, you'd have to go and earn over $1 million just to cover the cost of your interest alone. Again, this is something that is not commonly advertised. No one really thinks about or runs the numbers on. But the Smith Manoeuvre is one of the greatest ways to hedge against this massive financial burden. Just think about that. You have to go and earn $1 million to pay off a $400,000 mortgage. That's crazy to think about. And so here are two core financial goals. And in the past, when you have a mortgage in your investments, they've been thought of two different financial avenues. It's one or the other. Do you want to pay off your expensive mortgage, or do you want to prepare for retirement? And so here's the opportunity cost. Waiting to be mortgage free and while preparing for retirement while missing out on the power of compound growth. As all you investors know, time in the market is far more important than timing the market. And so again, you're stuck. Your wealth is being eroded by this mortgage. It's weighing you down, lagging salaries with no extra money at the end of each month to invest. The higher taxes are eroding what's left of your available income. And you're forced to prioritize your mortgage and current expenses over investing for your future. So where does that lead? It leads to, again, downsizing, right? Being financially dependent on your children, living on a small fixed income in retirement, maybe a reverse mortgage, and continue working well into your retirement years. And so you need a solution that lets you, number one, eliminate costly mortgage expense as fast as you can, reduce your overall tax burden, and invest in your future early and often. And so we have to start thinking like an investor here. And for an investor, debt is important. Adapting an investor mindset means that not all debt is bad. Non-deductible debt, your current primary home residence mortgage, which is non-deductible, destroys wealth. It's expensive to borrow and carry, and it's used to buy depreciating assets like cars and toys and trips. Deductible debt creates wealth. There are companies out there that have whole branches and arms dedicated to optimizing debt and making sure that they carry enough debt to optimize their wealth. I'm going to get into what that means. Again, it's relatively inexpensive to borrow and carry, and it's used to buy appreciating assets like investments. And so your home is the exception here because in the US, as an example, they're allowed to write off the interest on their primary residence mortgage. In Canada, we don't get that luxury. And so again, we can expect the home value to appreciate over time, but again, the mortgage debt is non-tax deductible. We are going to solve that problem here. I'm going to show you how. Equity is our superpower. Investors understand that your equity is a tool. Unproductive equity gains a negative return. It is sitting in the dry walls of your home earning nothing. And so your mortgage is actually an investment opportunity. Invest it now rather than consuming it into retirement in the form of a reverse mortgage. And so it all starts today. These benefits happen immediately. They happen simultaneously. And the best part about this strategy is that it requires no extra cash from you every single month. It is the exact same mortgage payment that you are already making month in and month out. And so I'm going to walk you through the Smith Manoeuvre process. First off is you get a readvanceable mortgage. Before I hop into number two, what is a readvanceable mortgage? Think of it like a credit card. It's a mortgage with a home equity line of credit attached to it. With a credit card, as you pay down your credit card, it becomes re-available to borrow, re-advanceable, re-available to borrow, re-advancing, re-available. That's all a re-advanceable mortgage is. It means as you pay it down, you become re-available to borrow the funds in the home equity line of credit. So again, number one, you get a readvanceable mortgage. Number two, you make your mortgage payment as per usual, and this reduces your loan balance and increases the available credit that you can borrow on the home equity line of credit dollar for dollar. We then invest that newly available credit that grows on the home equity line of credit into appreciating assets, and we repeat this process month in and month out. We are then able to claim the interest on our home equity line of credit as a deduction, resulting in an increasing tax refund as that line of credit grows every single year at springtime. We then use those tax refunds to prepay our non-deductible bad debt primary home residence mortgage, take those refunds at the spring and prepay our mortgage. And then we then use that same, as we prepay that mortgage, it becomes reavailable in the line of credit to borrow. We then take that and invest it as well. So again, it becomes found money that you now get to contribute to your investment portfolio from those tax deductions. And you repeat and repeat and repeat. And so what does this conversion look like? So again, I'm a very visual person. We're going to show you a little visual chart here of what this actually looks like over 25 years, this $400,000 mortgage here. So we have the equity that remains unavailable as your mortgage balance decreases. So typically your non-deductible mortgage, this funds would just be sitting in your home. And so here we have our whole $400,000 non-deductible balance. Now let's say we flash forward, and then again, here is the line of credit that it becomes available to us. And so again, now we flash forward here, and let's say your monthly payment here is $2,200 a month, just over. About $1,400 of that goes to interest, and then $700 goes to principal, the actual loan itself. Now, once you make that mortgage payment, $1,400 goes to non-deductible interest, and just over $700 goes to principal. That $700 that we've now made in that principal payment now becomes re-available to borrow in the line of credit. So now we take that $728 and invest it into a income generating asset. Again, borrowing to consume creates no tax deductions, car payments, financing vacation, but borrowing to invest with the reasonable expectation of generating income does create tax deductions. So here's the readvanceable mortgage payment cycle, right? We make that payment, it becomes available in the line of credit, we invest. And then over time, we slowly eliminate all of our non-deductible mortgage payments and convert it into a good tax-deductible investment loan until we have a 100% fully tax-deductible investment loan. So 100% deductibility, this is not an overnight process, right? Much like everything when it comes to investing, this is a long-term wealth building strategy. But once you hit 100% deductibility, that means bigger tax refunds, which is essentially found money that you can then contribute to your investment portfolio and keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket. The annual mortgage prepayments that you're also going to be making with those tax refunds are, number one, shaving years off your mortgage, but number two is also meaning that you're paying less interest overall. Think about that for a second. If you're getting 36 to 45% of the interest that you pay on your mortgage back in a tax refund every spring, that makes your net interest rate, let's say you have an interest rate of 4.5%, well, your effective interest rate is actually closer to 2.5% because you're getting half of it back in a tax refund. You also, as you investors all know it there as well, you get to take advantage of the effect of compound growth, having your money invested for 25 years, 30 years, rather than sitting in the drywall of your home. So what difference does the Smith Maneuver actually make? What's this worth? Well, number one, a potential net worth increase of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Number two is mortgage freedom. In this case, mortgage freedom approximately 3 years earlier. And all of this is just with the plain Jane strategy. That's all we're going to talk about today, is just giving you guys the core foundations of the plain Jane Smith Maneuver. Why am I now saying plain Jane? Well, it's because there are additional what are called accelerator strategies that you can layer on top of your plain Jane Smith Maneuver. These accelerator strategies, as I had said, it's a longer process to convert your mortgage into a tax-deductible investment loan. This doesn't happen overnight. But the faster you can convert your mortgage into a tax-deductible investment loan, the faster you're getting those larger tax refunds, which means you're faster converting and you're converting more to your investment portfolio over 25 years. We're not going to talk about those accelerator strategies today. That's a conversation for another day. But what you need to know is that that's something that we can also additionally look onto and will also amplify your return over the long run. And again, the really cool thing about the Smith Manoeuvre, and we're going to get into how this works in a second, is that it requires no new cash on a monthly basis. There we go. So with these accelerators, which I have more content available to that I can share, we can reach up to a potential net worth improvement of almost $1 million for the average client and mortgage freedom 18 years or faster. And so what I'm going to show you here, this visual, is why this doesn't actually require any extra cash out of pocket to you. Some people will say, well, I'm borrowing from the line of credit, so I'm going to be paying interest on my investment line of credit, the HELOC. Yes, but why this doesn't actually cost you anything out of pocket is because the increasing efficiency of the mortgage payment. As an example, this homeowner with a $400,000 mortgage with a payment of $2,200, their first mortgage payment, as most of you likely know or have seen on your mortgage payments, when you start, it's weighted to be interest first. A lot of interest and a very little principal. And then as you make those payments, less goes to interest and more goes to principal. That's why it's also harder to get ahead in homeownership in Canada, is because mortgages are structured so that the bank always wins and that they get paid before you pay off your home. They get all their cookie first and that interest. This homeowner is investing $728 in principal every month. That being said, on their second payment, there is $730 coming out in principal. They will absolutely have to pay interest on the $728 that they've now invested. But the increasing efficiency of the mortgage payment is that we're now being charged $2 interest on $728. But now, because $730 frees up on the home equity line of credit in that readvanceable mortgage with our next payment, that additional $2 is now what's covering the interest-only payment on the line of credit. That's the increasing efficiency. It's a conversion. It's not more debt. That's why as we pay down the non-deductible mortgage and the investment loan, it only ever stays at the same loan balance. And we're not taking on more debt or paying more, because the increasing efficiency being the amount that goes to principal, more goes to principal than interest, is what's covering that additional interest cost. As an example again, we're still investing $728 on month 3. We're paying $5 interest because now we have over $1,400 invested, and that's $5 interest. But the difference of the additional principal, we now have $5 in principal being advancing, and that's covering the interest cost, and month on and month on. So again, the cycle benefits, we're investing money we otherwise would not have had available to us every month. We're generating valuable tax deductions every month. We're eliminating your expensive mortgage in record timing in getting this found money in tax refunds. And the benefits start right away. Will that tax refund be as large as it will once we fully convert the mortgage? No, because it's not an overnight process. But you'll still be able to enjoy the effects of compound interest by investing that $728 that homeowner had today that they otherwise would not have had available to them. And again, all these benefits occur simultaneously, and amazingly enough, because of the increasing efficiency of the mortgage payment, with more going to principal than interest every month, it's no cash out of your pocket month over month. As a Smith Manoeuvre certified professional, we have our own in-house calculator. Just as an example here, this is a client who I ran a scenario with, and over the life of their 25-year mortgage, they had $174,000 in tax savings. Their portfolio grew to $1.9 million over 25 years, and then they had a net worth improvement of just under $700,000. Why is there a difference between the net worth and the investments? Well, that's because they still have this good tax deductible mortgage at year 25, but then after year 25, we cash out the non-registered investment portfolios, pay out the mortgage, and now after 25 years, they have access to $696,000 in retirement savings that they otherwise would not have had, because that money just would have been tied away in their home, not earning any kind of return. For this client, the time to convert for them was 10 years. This calculator here, I have actually gone and created I'm just going to mute myself here so I don't come through. I hate listening to the sound of my own voice, so I really don't want to listen to Jonah yap away here right now, despite all the content creation I make. I have put out this sample case study of a Smith Manoeuvre for this person here, where we look at everything: their marginal tax rate, the 7% annual investment return, their mortgage. We look at a plain Jane, and then we talk a little about the accelerator strategies as well that we're not going to talk about here. We also look at comparing this to a regular mortgage and then the difference in their net worth overall. I highly recommend you go and check this video out and watch this video just to get a better idea. And then once you're ready to take a look at your own numbers and you want to see, is this right for you? What does this look like for you over the life of your mortgage, and what kind of difference can this make in your net worth? How much faster can you retire? What kind of life can you give yourself? The booking link is in the description of this YouTube video, and I'm happy to sit down and run your numbers. So thank you so much, everyone. I try not to take up too many time to see around 22 minutes. It's okay. And yeah, just really happy to share and educate on this financial strategy that I am super, super passionate. Again, closing thought that I'm going to leave you here with: the odds are stacked up against us in Canada today. It is harder than ever to get ahead financially. Rising cost of living, rising cost of home ownership, inflation. We're taxed more than any other country in the G7. We have higher grocery inflation than any other country in the G7. It costs $1 million Canadian on average to raise a child in today's economy. What kind of life do you want to give yourself? You will have to learn and implement strategies that your parents and grandparents did not need to bother learning, because it was much more expensive and affordable to live and raise a child. So I'm leaving you with that. Let's create a better life for you and your family, and hope to chat with you about this soon. Take care.